Hello everyone, hope y'all are doing well. This is 3D printed animatronic creature part 40. Now I'm going to show you some more stuff later that I've been working on for this year's project. And I hope to have a lot more projects going for the YouTube channel. But right here I'm working on the mold dam or the divider wall, which is clay around the 3D printed, mother mold. But just been doing a lot of stuff, working on a lot of things, and bad weather here in Louisiana, but we didn't really get the heavy snow like New Orleans did. Here I'm just prepping this creature to get it ready to mold, and I'm putting this masking tape here around the whole bottom edge of just mainly just a sculpted area. And and what I've as you see here, I did some touch up in the clay, kind of did some little detail work, and especially underneath the chin, and just kind of I want to spray a sealer on this whole part here, but not a heavy coat, just a light coat, and just something to kind of protect the little touch up areas I did with clay. But overall, I'm really happy with this sculpt here. I'm really happy with all the prints, especially from the bamboo printer. But as you all probably noticed, there's a lot of stuff going on with bamboo right now. It kind of makes you not really want to trust them that much. But overall, I'm happy with the printer, but I can't really recommend it because it's kind of, some of the stuff's kind of shady. Well, as you see here, I've kind of got my border of tape around, and I really don't want any uh, spray on the base. I want to keep it original. But as you see here, I'm just doing a light coat. I mean, it's really light, but it's not really to cover up any layer lines or anything like that. It's just to protect the little areas where I put some clay and a little bit on the shoulder areas. Molding this creature in silicone this way, it's it needs to be kind of precise because one thing is I'm trying, I don't want to have a blowout, and what I mean where it just pours out of the edge. But as you know, this back piece right here of the mother mold, it needs to be pretty precise and fit correctly and not have any gaps in it. The tolerances are great, but it's just like, as far as the screws, there's a hole that I designed, but it fits that screw okay, but there's a little looseness there because it's a screw. But I got to make sure that this mold will fit correct, flat edges, everything is just done right. But as you see here, I'm putting this plastic bag inside the to cover the back of it. But what I'm doing this for is that uh, when I put the clay on, as far as the dam, I want to make sure that even though it's soft clay, I just don't want to fill a bunch of clay up in there. So I'm using this as kind of a dam. I'm filling it up with pieces of, trash bags or whatever, and just giving me something to put the clay up against to make it kind of to give it strength for the clay, because once again the silicone's going to be heavy, and I just trying to do my best not to prevent any kind of a blowout. Now these three mother molds right here are really flush. Now I made sure that the two pieces in the back were flush. That way I could put this mother mold so it wouldn't be any gaps. And I'm telling you that, being these are flat pieces, there was a slight gap on the I believe it was on the right one, but it was just because the tolerances were kind of loose there. But that's because of the screw holes. But I got it just right where I want it. Now this is considered flat, but now I'm going to put this clay, and this is some cheap clay, but Savant, it's just a really soft clay that I can, it it's really would probably be used for something. What we're doing here is making a dam. It's kind of too soft to do any kind of sculpting with, But you know, I imagine there's other things you could do with it. I just don't know of what they're doing with it. But as you see here, I'm kind of pressing in the clay inside this area here, and just kind of building it up. Now, if it seems to be weak, I'll keep pressing more clay in there, and that's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I got the trash bags in there to give it something so I could have some kind of support in there so I don't fill the whole back of it and be more cleanup for me to do. But but uh people use, wind clay or water clay, and there's all kind of clays you could probably use, but I went with the soft stuff because, and it's cold weather area here, and getting some like monster clay regular, it's kind of firm. You could probably soften it up some, but it just gets kind of hard to work with. But I want something I can clean up pretty easy when I remove the back. And now when I remove the back, I can't take apart I don't really want to. I need to leave the mold. After I pour this top piece or this front piece, it needs to stay there. I can't take it off. But that's why everything needs to be flush. But but as you see here, I'm adding the clay, and I'm building it up so I can make a pretty much good flat seam here. You'll see later. And you could probably put some keys in it if you wanted to, but I'm trying to avoid any of that because when I put it together, I don't want anything to interfere with what I'm doing. I mean, the keys is a good a good piece of it as far as the joining the pieces together, but in this case, I want it to be flat or semi-flat. But it really doesn't take long. The clay is kind of soft, and that's pretty firm because I do have those bags in there. So I'm just going to have to come back later, and I'm going to smooth out these edges that are up against the creature sculpt. That way it kind of, you know, uh, it look nicer and just like a flat piece of dam right there. But once again, you might have heard me say this in the other videos. Before I enclose it with the front and get ready to mold, I'm going to put, a small brush, a small layer of silicone on there to create a gasket. That way I'll brush it on there when it's kind of thick a little bit, just a little bit, and just try to, make a gasket to prevent any kind of a future blowout. Here, what I'm doing is making some large, that big creature head that y'all have seen, the big Hulk creature, and I'm making, I'm trying to get everything that I need to mold so I can mold everything at once. As far as like, you know, a molding day, just have everything that I need to mold being on that day. And these are pretty large teeth because it's a pretty large creature. But what I'm doing here is this is the the mole uh, base, and I have a piece that goes over this to to make it into like a mold box. And I'll show you this. It come up in here in a minute, but it's just making sure that I have all this ready. And as you see here, I have it all ready for me to, get ready to pour. And once again, right before I put it on, I'll brush on a little coat of silicone there, and then put the box on, and then that way I can let that set up and have a little gasket there. And what else I've been working on is this an animatronic, werewolf. And I'm a big fan of werewolves, and I decided to do this one, and I've been working on this thing ever since. I think I started like January 5th. It was right before my birthday, which is the 6th. And but I wanted to show you what I've been working on. This is the new gimbal that I designed, and y'all probably saw me do these in other videos. Just I get to thinking about stuff, and I have to draw it out and see if it would work. But as you see here, you got a rotation and a looking up and looking down, and like a double jointed as far as the neck movements, and I'm really happy with this design, and I think it'll really work. And I decided to build it, and I'll show you. But a little bit on this werewolf design. It's pretty. I've always wanted to do this. This is one of my pieces I've always wanted to do, and but this is a werewolf concept that I've kind of, you know, been working on for a number of years. Just, just little doodles here. This is the way I would do it. But this will be a rod puppet, but it'll be a lot of animatronic in the head. But you'll be able to to have like a large rod puppet where you could walk this thing, and it would be good for filmmaking. But here I'm just kind of designing the body, the way I'd see it to be, biped creature. But as you see here, I have this gimbal design that you might have seen earlier, but this is the whole body. But as far as the animatronic head should have probably probably 10 servos in it. So far, I have 8. But as you see here, the body, as I have here, it will it'll be able to have two purposes, but mainly mainly it's going to be as far as the as you see here, I've taken the body and I've divided it up into, hands, arms, bicep, tricep, the chest piece, the pelvis, and the hips, legs, calves, and then so on and so forth. But then I have the metal structure here so I could tie those pieces into it because all of those will be divided into two and they have a way to where I could actually take them apart. But as far as the body design, what I would do in my design thinking, the best way to add skin to this is you would put a spandex suit or a shirt and pants that's spandex. And this is a small creature now. This is a little bit more than 40 inches. But but what I would do is I would use this like a mannequin, and I would apply silicone directly on there, brush on silicone directly on it, and onto the fabric of, like I said earlier about putting some kind of a shirt and pants on there, and then brush it on there with some spandex, and then I would add a zipper to go all the way around the crotch area, all the way to the front to the back, so I could unzip this whole thing, and then I could remove it, and it would be jointed in the shoulders and stuff to be easier to remove. But still, that would be one of the best ways because then after I put silicone all over it, I can start, putting hair strips on there to make uh, as far as the whole body and fur. But this is something that I've kind of designed, and I've been working on this for about 3 weeks off and on. And this whole video that I'm working, I've saved, I think it was 13 hours of footage, and I'm editing all for y'all right now. Now, as far as the teeth, and once again, I've always been a werewolf fan, but what I'm doing here is this is in an old software called y'all probably played with it, Sculptress. I've Before I got a hold of ZBrush, this is what I was, learning, and this is an old set of wolf teeth that I had designed, and but I'm just going to use these, and what I do is I'm just making sure that the bite's correct, and as you see here, it's an older file. Now the lower interior teeth are covered up too much, so I'm going to raise these upper interior teeth up a little bit just to so you can see the upper and lower interiors together. I really enjoy making creature teeth. I mean, being a dental lab technician for 30 years, I've always liked creature teeth. But I'm just, doing some touch up. A lot of this will be done on the dental lathe, and I'll add a lot more details to it and kind of put rougays in it and stuff like that. But as you see here, I'm just kind of giving it more of a flat because I'm gonna cut this in Blender or cut it in a ZBrush as far as having a flat base. And I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to make sure that my skull will give enough look to where it snarls, you'll see some gum. And but I don't I want this wolf to be more of a wolf than, it might have some characteristics of a human, but it's going to be more wolf-like than it is human. But it's just going to be what's going to be more of a just a wolf walking on two legs. But as you see here, I'm just slowly pulling these interiors down and to show more of them, and then I'm going to raise these upper interiors up some so we can get it to look pretty good. So this is the final what I've done, and now to import this was a OBJ, and I just got it in Blender, and I'm just manipulating the size, you know, and I'm using both of them as an object to keep them both the same or keep the bite correct. So on this, and this is, some of this footage that I'm going through, I have a lot of footage of me doing this, but to sit there and just see me tinker around with it for an hour, but I figure I could just eliminate some of that footage. But basically, this is all I'm doing and just kind of matching it up to the skull. But a lot of these things is that you know I have to put these teeth here because it needs teeth. But then I got to make sure that I have room for a mechanism like the nose and the muzzle. And I want to separate. I know I've seen some other designs of where they open their mouth or the nose raises too high, and I I want to be able to control my muzzle and the nose, and that be two separate servos as you see here. But if you raise it up, if you're not careful, your wolf will become a bear, and a bear, if it raises its nose too much, it looks like a bear. A bear raises its nose really, really far up high. But and as far as the eyes, I'm not going to have an eye mech in here. I'm going to have a blink mech. And the best way to do this is to show people on how they can do things. And and as far as the size, it'd be hard for me to do an eye mech in this because I don't have enough room. Because I'm going to have, like, once again, probably a little more than 10 servos in this inside already, because I'm controlling the muzzle, the nose, the jaw. Then you got the eyelids. Then you have the ear mechanism, which is 4 servos just for the ears, and then there's the brows. But here we're going to make them with glass eyes, and the glass eyes are going to taxidermy eyes, and the eyes have to look straight. Well, if you ever had taxidermy eyes, that it's not a true half sphere. It's almost a sphere, half sphere, but we're going to kind of make it have the illusion like it is a full sphere. And for me to do this, now these are African lion eyes, and they look kind of like wolf eyes. And but I've designed these little pieces here that will fit inside the back of the eye, and this is 28 millimeter African lion eyes. And to work out all the tolerances, I rather just print several of these, like these little pieces here that you see, and I check to see if they fit snug enough, because these will be secured with glue or either epoxy or whatever. But I need something to keep these eyes straight, and they need to be secured straight and level at all times. But the eyelids are going to be screwed in. Uh, they're not going to be going through no rods or anything like that. They're just going to be having some flat screws inside the eyelid mechanism itself. So I need to fit this on a rod. But what I've usually done is I did a while back uh, a design of a Grogu where I made eyes that just floated inside the eyelids, and that way, and with tilted eyelids also. I like my eyelids tilted instead of being a flat, blink neck. So if you see here, this is the old Grogu, and it's controlling four lids with one servo, but it's a floating eye. And the floating eye is a rod, a support rod that is going through its support to a standoff. And that's basically what I'm wanting to do with this wolf. And as you see that yellow support rod going to the back of the eye, that's what we're going for. But to do this, it's just a design thing. But but I mean, it works. It worked with this Grogu, and we just got to keep the eye stationary. But but here the eyelids are too far tilted back, so I got to make sure that I make the eye tilted less. That way we won't see the side of the eye of the glass eye. But that's kind of a this is just to show you also a number of servos I have in this design concept right now. But also I've been working on a 3 servo socket to where I can join them into all these beams that I'm using from Servo City. But here's the eye socket here that I've kind of designed here that will work with a glass eye. And I'm using a standoff, a 3mm standoff, which the length is 12.5mm. And it fits in snug. The tolerance is kind of tight. It would probably be best to go ahead and secure it with epoxy. But this is what I have here. And but these glass eyes would be either glued in place, and they'd be center and straightforward, and they would match up to the support, and they'd keep it floating in between the eyelids. I make my eyes with dental acrylic, and the reason why it's just kind of hard for some people to get dental acrylic because they have restrictions on who can actually buy it. Now you can find some places that have it, but a lot of the chemicals and a lot of even some of the putty matrix material, you have to be, either involved in the dental lab industry or a dentist, or but it's kind of strange though that they allow other things to be sold that are considered dangerous or hazardous. But here overall, what I'm doing is I'm touching up the eyelids to where the the pull push tabs on the eyelids itself were at an angle, and I just made these here to give me basically what I'm doing is when I tilt this eye. Now it's straightforward, so I'm going to tilt the eyelids and the angle that I want, which I think is maybe 4 degrees and 5 degrees inwards. But I'm wanting to tilt the servo with it. That way it will always be a straight line of sight to the servo horn. And but and this is just the way I like having it to where I don't have to. I can use a straightforward, linkage. But as far as me to tilt this eye, just leaving the eye alone and just tilting the eyelids as you see here, and then I'll come to the top and I'll just tilt it like so, and that way I'll have just a little tilt, give it some little character, but yet the servo is stationary also to the angle. So now I have that done, and now I'll just mirror it and flip it. Then I'll have this in the right position by measuring it. I believe it's 75 pupil to pupil, and that way now I can set this, and as you see that the servo socket has already been designed, that way I'm going to tie the ear control and the jaw. Now there's two servos on the jaw. They're going to be direct, but as you see here, I'm just fitting it into the eye. Now it's just placing it in that area. I'll make adjustments. But as you see here, I'm doing work like I was telling you about a 3 servo socket that I will be 3D printing. And I'll just tie in all those um, existing servo sockets, and I'll combine them into one that will connect to those beams. And that way, it'll be a simple process, and everything will be measured correct. And then all I have to do is just connect the pieces together. But overall, I'm happy with it. It's the time consuming part is the planning it, and it's like, well, you want a wolf, then you make a skull, and then you want to know how many servos you can put in it, and can I put a servo here or there, or do I have room? Do I need to extend the linkage? But this is what the servo socket would look like, but then I have to add the other 2 servos to it. But it's coming along. I'm really happy with it. But I'm going to show you me building this new gimbal, but I'm going to have it up and running probably on the next video. But I really like designing these things and see if these things kind of, you design them, you really want to see them work. And this is a kind, and I'm choosing these servos. Now the animatronic servo will have, the animatronic head will have reef servos in it, and they're micro servos, and these are all their standard servos for the neck. And this is good because that way I won't have any worries about torque and about them lifting the head. And I just now as far as the wolf head, except just basically thinking that I can enlarge the wolf head to a standard servo. That way I could actually make the animatronic head bigger if I wanted to. But as you see here, though, I'm just putting together these servo blocks, which are great. Now, I I like the simple fact is that this is metal, and I don't have any kind of CNC machine because it's a lot of money for that, and plus, if a part's already designed, let me just buy it, and it's just cheaper for me instead of buying a machine. But there's some parts I would love to have milled, just to have them, you know, and I love the bearings on from Servo City because it just makes a lot of things more fluid. And these servo blocks have bearings, and that helps with a lot of torque and helps the so-called servo itself. But it's kind of some of these things you got to watch on how you put these things together because you got to make sure that you can put them together this way, and then you know if you if, if you block an access to a screw, how you going to put the screw in. But you just kind of work through that, and you might have to cut Allen wrenches to shorten it to get in certain areas. But you put in one piece, and then you can follow it with the next one, as long as you have space and room to do so. But I'm I'm designing now. Well, I've actually got it finished. You'll see at the end of the video on what I've changed on the bottom mechanism, and it's another tilt and or another you know up down, but it's actually a rotation left and right. That way it will look left and right again. That means I can make the creature neck look one way and the head turn the other, and that's but as you see here, here's it moving as far as the center floating, and then that top servo there is the is the roll, and then the tilt, and then the bottom one is a left-right movement. But it's come out really good. But as you see here, and then also it does that tilt on that top servo horn there. But as you see, I'm working on the bottom. As you see there on the very bottom, that's going to be the tilt there, but it's also the servo is going to be rotating it left and right. But it's coming along. Look, I really hope y'all like this video, and I mean this is like 13 hours of video, and I've edited it down to 30 minutes. So, but I'm gonna try to get going on this mole on this 3D printed animatronic creature, get it knocked out, and but as you see here, this is the design for the rotation for that gimbal, and I'm hoping to get it finished pretty soon. But hope y'all like. Please share, and thanks for the likes and comment. Tell me what y'all think about this design, but I appreciate every one of y'all. Thanks for the thumbs up and likes and the shares. Y'all have a good one. Hope y'all like. Later.